Welcome and thank you for joining us. We are speaking to Bronwen from Hempress today, which is fantastic. We've been looking forward to this interview for a while now. Bronwen, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Thank you, Wendy. Lovely to be here.
Bronwen, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you got started?
So, about 8 years ago, I was really, really ill. In fact, I was in complete organ failure. And I was on 21 pills in the morning, 18 at night, including morphine. I was in complete organ failure. And I had done some research on cannabis and whatever. To me, dacha was chacha. I thought, I'm dying, so let me at least die happy. And I'm still happy. So what happened was I started taking cannabis drops along with all the medicine I was on. And 5 days after I started the cannabis drops, I got out of bed and I walked. And that was after a 3-month period of being bedridden. 10 days later, the 23 liters of fluid that I was carrying in my abdomen was gone. And through my months of having researched the cannabis and natural alternatives and whatever, I realized that this was my purpose in life, to pursue and to follow and to heal other people and get the message across that cannabis is a medicine and it should be respected as such. And even, you can use it recreationally because that can be medicinal too. But more importantly, it needs to be respected, acknowledged, and used medicinally.
Yes. So can you tell us a bit about the challenges that you faced within the cannabis industry?
As a newbie, it was quite challenging because I knew nothing. I had a lot of guidance from a few friends that assisted me. I started growing myself. I was given a tree or two, and I planted from seed, and I healed. I got better while I was growing. So I'd go and sit amongst my trees, and literally just absorb the energy and feel what I was supposed to be feeling. And that's how it kind of, the bug bit. And then I just continued with the other herbs because I was growing other herbs anyway on the farm, but I continued with the other herbs as well, included cannabis. I started extracting and then making my own medicine. I had some guidance from very respected people in the industry, and they taught me a lot of what I know. I've changed a few things as I've adapted to how I feel it should be done for me and the equipment that I have to use. It was very much, as much as we need equipment, we have a lot of it in our kitchens. And it was a point that I want to reiterate is that you don't need to do this hugely expensively. People can actually make their own in their kitchens. And we should be sharing this information as opposed to keeping it to ourselves. We really, really should be like helping, especially women, because they are the primary caregivers in a household and a family, to be medicating and treating their families with natural alternatives like cannabis and including other herbs which enhance cannabis as a medicine.
Could you give us a few examples of herbs that enhance cannabis as a medicine?
So, for example, mullein. Mullein is a bronchodilator. as well as cannabis.
Yeah.
So things like flu, it's great for pain too. So yes, melon is great, like as in a tincture. So melon and cannabis, I do a lot of that, especially with flus, asthmas, that kind of diagnosis.
Yeah.
And then Scaletium, absolutely phenomenal.
Yes.
It targets the same neuroreceptors in your brain as morphine, but if you look at the chemical composition of the actual compound, the molecular structure, it does not have the arm which gives the high.
Yes.
So that is where it's beneficial in terms of it's not psychedelic, or
Yes.
you don't get that effect from, for example, Scaletium. Scaletium is also very good for anxiety, depression. Absolutely wonderful little succulent that. Yes. So those are a few of the things that I use consistently. Medicinal mushrooms work hand in hand with cannabis.
Yes.
Definitely like something like reishi, very good for general immunity. So if you're combining reishi, cannabis, and moringa into your kind of daily protocol in terms of a tincture or a tea or whatever, you're pretty much looking after your body in its entirety.
Yes. I want to speak to you a bit about your product range, Hempress product range. How did you get started with that? And what are the different types of products that you have available currently?
So I started initially with drops mainly, and then I started to infuse the extraction into a balm and into a moisturizer that I was mixing up myself. And then it expanded with the other herbs into teas and into something that I've branded coping caps. Those are for anxiety, depression, extreme pain. We do focus, that's for ADHD, autism, Alzheimer's, those kind of conditions. And then we do the men's and the women's, which offer hormonal support. And then we do chronic, which is for cancers, autoimmune diseases, stuff like that. So that's pretty much is, and I'm very superficial about what ingredients are in my products. I believe that we should be armed with what we're putting into our bodies. It's very important that we know what we're actually consuming. And that the results have like astounded even me. I knew what they were doing for me, but in terms of other people, it's been absolutely phenomenal. So the coping caps are wonderful. I'm doing a product called Deflam, anti-inflammatory. And then I do immunity, which is a natural antibiotic. So you take that as a capsule 3 times a day for a 10-day period. And then the milk thistle for your liver and digestive issues. I'm doing a product called Baba Less.
Yeah.
I think the name speaks for itself. And yes, Baba Less. I do tinctures, I do teas, I do capsules mainly. Then I do the cosmetic range for eczemas, psoriasis, all of that kind of stuff. So that's an exterior application. And the results are astounding and they're working wonderfully.
I want to talk a bit about your results and some of the clients or the patients that come to you for treatment. If you could maybe share a story with us without naming any names or anything, just some feedback that you've received from people that use your products.
So I've had a few very challenging stories and sad stories that I've had to hear and rack my brains on what the best protocol would be. One instance was a young boy, 7 years old. He'd battled grand mal seizures from literally a few months old. He was on 2 Urbanols a day. At 7, I mean, that is excessive. An adult shouldn't even be taking that. And I put him onto my drops and the focus caps, and overnight his seizures stopped.
Wow, that is a fantastic testimony. Wow.
Yes, it makes my heart incredibly happy.
Mm.
Then in another instance, also an epileptic case, this young man, actually, I should say, if he doesn't have a migraine, he has seizures. If he has a migraine, he doesn't have seizures.
Mm.
And we managed to lower the intensity of his headaches, and he's not seizing. He's still having the after effects of a seizure, but he's not actually having this physical seizure.
Wow.
So with time, we're hoping that the seizures will completely actually like dissipate.
Yeah.
And the headaches have obviously, like, it's now a headache as opposed to a migraine, and it's not blinding and whatever.
Mm.
So that's another hugely successful story that I love to tell people. And then my own daughter, in fact, she was given a terminal cancer diagnosis.
Mm.
And I managed to get her first negative results after she'd followed the doctor's protocols of chemo and radiation. And not that I'm saying that people shouldn't go that route. It's
Mm.
not something I would elect to do.
Yes.
But I've managed to get her first negative results within a 3.5-month period. And she was
Wow.
well enough to apply to immigrate and actually move overseas.
Wow, that is a fantastic testimony. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I want to also talk to you about some of your other projects that you are involved with in terms of your women empowering movement and also the rallies and so on within the cannabis industry.
So, like I mentioned earlier, women are the primary sort of healthcare providers. We make sure nutrition is covered, which is vitally important in any household. Nutrition is actually where we should be focusing, because these are all additional things and basic herbs can just be added into your meals and whatever.
Yes.
So because women are the primary caregivers and, see the needs of their families through their food and their medicine, and they take the kids off to the doctor and blah, blah, blah. We've started a nonprofit called Women's Empowerment. And I'm a firm believer that a farmer will never make money until they actually take their raw product, into some sort of processed product.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge proponent of the fact that we should be like focusing on a hectare of hemp, for example, can build a room in a house.
Yes.
So stop focusing on government building your house for you. You can grow your own home.
Yes. Wow.
And that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to instill in people, and that we are responsible for ourselves. Nobody's responsible for us.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to actually make the changes and make the decisions that we need to do in order to go forward and grow forward.
Yes.
So I'm with the women's empowerment. Women often stay in abusive situations because of financial reasons, and hemp, through actually making a product out of it, everybody could be earning a really decent income.
Yeah.
So if we focus on not only just growing the hemp and the herbs, we will then turn that into another product, for example, bricks or charcoal or there's too many to actually mention. We could, people could actually earn themselves a decent living.
Yes. Yeah. What do you think about the recent cannabis bill that came out?
If it's on white paper, we can challenge it.
Okay.
So the fact that it's been gazetted now gives us the opportunity to challenge what has been gazetted.
Yes.
Previously, it was up in the air and there were no answers. Now we're in the position where we can actually go and say, thank you for this, but in practical terms and in practical applications, it can't work because of X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And we as a community and as industry leaders have seen the challenges that we faced in any event. So we coming from the practical experience, I work very closely with Department of Agriculture, and they have no idea. Cannabis in itself is a hugely complicated plant. It's not just a weed that pops up anywhere. And it requires love and it requires attention. And you can only harvest like at certain humidity levels and these are the kind of things that, firstly, if you don't know them, you're not going to be able to put it, like complete the cycle.
Yeah.
So a lot of education is required. We're going to have to collaborate in terms of private and government input and output. And we're going to have to just walk this road together. I mean, I know that industries have fallen flat because it hasn't been thought through properly in the world.
Yes.
So we should use those as examples of what not to do, in my opinion.
I just want you to elaborate a little bit about your role within the cannabis industry as an industry leader. Do you see yourself as a voice for cannabis and for empowering women to move into the cannabis industry? What is your specific role within being an industry leader?
So it's not really where I wanted to be, but I'm very happy doing things on my own, where I am, on my own, on the farm. But, I've accepted where the respect I've earned as a woman in the industry. And I thank everybody for acknowledging me for what I have tried to accomplish to date. For me, it's not about the glory. It's about the results and what we're trying to do at the end of the day. And if we're trying to uplift people and give them opportunity, I will be that voice.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily believe in, I think that a lot of change comes from, it's got to be, your story's got to be convincing. And you've got to be actually doing stuff. You can't just be saying everything. You've got to be actively involved. You can't just be on the sidelines, shouting from the sidelines without any sort of constructive input.
Yes.
So that's where I think, I'm at, in terms of I've met my own challenges. I've seen what challenges there are, not even all of them. I mean, I learn something new every day. And if you think you know everything about this plant, you're sadly mistaken.
What advice would you give people that's starting out within the industry, especially women starting out within the cannabis industry?
It starts at home. So do what you can do at home. And there's a lot of wonderful women in this industry that are prepared to share their knowledge and their experience and try and assist. and I'm always available to try and guide people like with what's right and what's wrong. For example, don't use pesticides, don't use, at the end of the day, you are giving, if you're not giving it to yourself, you're responsible for giving it to somebody else that is incredibly ill 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed for myself that cannabis becomes sort of the last resort for people that are incredibly, incredibly ill.
Mm.
It's a sad reality. And they've often depleted all their means of any funds or finance. And don't be greedy. When I started with the Hempress, my whole plan was I wanted to be able to treat people at an average of about 10 Rand a day.
Mm.
And that is affordable.
Yes.
And if we could get government's involvement in terms of using these kind of products, not charging the excessive prices that are being charged through the cannabis clinics and blah, blah, blah. It's just ridiculous because it becomes unaffordable for the average Joe. So if they're not growing themselves, they're not going to be able to afford this medicine.
Mm. Could you just explain to us a bit about some of the challenges that you faced, maybe some thought patterns in terms of before healing and how that changed over time after healing?
For me, it's, you're not going to experience this for yourself until you actually know for yourself.
Mm.
For me, my pain, for example, was drastically improved.
Mm.
And when you experience what it's actually done for you physically, you can actually then take the step forward.
Yeah.
And then, try and then the mental shift kind of happens for you. Then it's not that it's cannabis and that it's addictive and everything that's been told to us all like our entire lives.
Yes.
Anything in excess, to be honest, is a bad thing.
Yes.
So for me, it's about, if you don't know yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to actually be able to reason with the fact that it is medicine.
Yes.
Because it's been dictated to us that you're going to get high, you're going to go psychotic, you're going to do all these crazy things. And it's not that. But by the same token, it hasn't been respected as that either.
Yes. So can you tell us a bit about your future plans and upcoming projects?
So, well, this planting season, I'm planning on going big. I want to put hemp really to the trial now.
Yes.
And into an industrial application that can be, used at home. At the end of the day, we African, we must use the sand and the soil that we benefit from.
Yes.
So I'm going to be planting a whole lot of hemp, and we're going to probably turn that into biochar, so that I can not just rehabilitate my soil and do those trials on my farm, but provide a heat source.
Yes.
Kind of, yeah. So that's what my plan is initially, like in terms of the hemp stuff. And then I'm always busy with new product development on the Hempress brand. I'm looking at a shampoo, conditioner, for things like psoriasis, dandruffs, hair loss, etc., etc. We've got to just carry on pushing it out, but production on new products costs a penny, so we have to bear that in mind. It's not just that you can pump out a new product. You've got to buy all the raw materials and make sure that they're paraben free and sulfate free and no chemicals involved. I do not use, everything must be organic and grown ethically is a better term. Yes.
Any final message that you would like to leave our audience with?
So I'm just going to say this, that let's get growing and grow forward.
Fantastic. If our audience members would like to get in contact or in touch with you regarding getting involved with getting products from Hempress or getting involved in the hemp industry or the cannabis industry, or just would like to share some thoughts with you, how would they get in touch?
It's best to get hold of me on WhatsApp. On an average morning, I have probably about 300 messages. So please bear with me. I will get back to you.
We will add in your number and your contact details after this. Thank you so much for joining us, and it was lovely to have you on the show. I look forward to seeing all the developments and all the projects coming to life. We're also speaking about doing a conference, a women's conference online one of these days, which we're really looking forward to. And yes, Bronwen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
May
you,
you just
Wendy.
go forth and be blessed in everything that you do. Thank you, everyone, for signing in, and thank you for listening and just being a part of this community. We really appreciate everything that you do for us and listen to us and hear our stories, and we applaud you for also sharing your stories with us on ThriveJ Media. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day. Thank you, Bronwen.
Thank you, Wendy.
Bye.
Bye, my darling.